All right, so we're diving into mindset this time.
Mindset, the new psychology of success.
Yeah, by Carol Dweck.
Yes.
And I think this is going to be a really interesting one for a deep dive because, this is something that everybody can relate to and use in every area of their life.
Yeah. I mean, it really does come down to this simple idea, like, what do you believe about your abilities? Do you think that your intelligence, your talents are kind of fixed and set in stone? Or do you believe that you can actually cultivate them and grow and develop?
Right. And she calls that a growth mindset.
A growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset.
Right. And you're telling me that this has huge implications for success in pretty much any area of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Think about it this way. Imagine you've got two musicians who are auditioning for an orchestra spot, and both are incredibly talented. Okay? But one of them has a fixed mindset. The other one has a growth mindset.
Okay.
The fixed mindset musician might be brilliant, but the minute they hit a snag or, a difficult passage in the music, they kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
They see that as a reflection of their inherent talent. It's like, oh, I guess I'm just not good enough. I must not be cut out for this.
Yeah, you see that in kids too. Like as soon as they run into a challenge,
Oh, yeah.
they just give up.
They shut down. Yeah, for sure.
But so what happens with the growth mindset musician? How do they approach it differently?
Well, they see that challenge. They actually embrace it.
Oh, wow.
They don't run from it. They lean into it.
Okay.
They're like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to really stretch my abilities, to maybe refine my technique a little bit, to learn something new. And, Dweck uses the example of Michael Jordan
Oh, yeah.
in her book. You think about it. This is a guy who is legendary,
Right.
but he wasn't always the most gifted athlete.
Really?
But he had this incredible growth mindset. And he was known for his relentless work ethic. Like he just kept pushing himself. He kept improving. He never settled.
I've always admired people like that who just seem to thrive on challenges.
Yeah.
Me, I tend to shy away from them a little bit.
Sure.
But hearing you talk about this, I can see how this idea of effort being the engine of improvement can really change the game.
Oh, absolutely. And, it goes way beyond just talent.
Oh, okay.
Or, sports or music. I mean, Dweck's research shows that a growth mindset can really impact your performance in school, at work, even in relationships.
Let's talk about relationships, because I think that's something a lot of people are struggling with these days.
Yeah. Relationships are tough.
Yeah.
And, if you approach relationships with a fixed mindset, it can really wreak havoc because...
Oh, so?
Well, think about it. If you believe that, you're either compatible with someone or you're not, any conflict, any disagreement can feel like...
a deal breaker.
Yeah, like the end of the world.
Right.
You're constantly on the lookout for the perfect partner, that effortless connection.
Right.
And if it's not there, you're like, okay, next.
But with a growth mindset, it sounds like you would approach those conflicts, those disagreements, totally differently.
Totally differently. You would see those as opportunities to communicate, to understand each other better, to work through the challenges together. And, Dweck talks about how couples with a growth mindset, they tend to view their relationship as a journey. It's not the static thing.
A process.
It's a process of learning and evolving together.
Yeah.
And that's a much healthier way to look at it.
I love that. It's like you're growing together instead of expecting everything to be perfect.
Exactly.
It's like right from the start.
And that takes the pressure off.
Right.
Right.
And it makes me think about, even just the way I approach those disagreements in my own relationships. Maybe I need to reframe those moments.
Reframing is huge. And that's especially true when it comes to how we view failure.
Okay. Failure? I mean, nobody wants to fail, right?
Right. Nobody likes to fail.
But it's inevitable.
It is. And for someone with a fixed mindset, failure is just like a punch in the gut. It's proof that they're not good enough.
Right. It's like your whole identity is tied up in your successes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you fail,
right,
it feels like a personal attack.
It's like you as a person are failure.
Wow.
Right? But with a growth mindset, failure becomes data.
Oh, interesting.
It's feedback. It's information that helps you adjust your approach. It's not this judgment of your worth as a human being. And, Dweck shares this story about a student named John.
Okay.
Who was really struggling with math.
I can relate to that. Math was never my strong suit.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But anyway, John felt like he just wasn't a math person.
Right.
Classic fixed mindset.
Right.
But his teacher encouraged him to look at his mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to learn. So she helped him develop strategies for tackling these challenging problems.
Wow.
And slowly his mindset started to shift.
So he actually started to enjoy math.
He started to see that, it wasn't just about innate talent. It was about effort and persistence.
That's amazing. I'm really starting to see how powerful this shift in thinking can be.
It can be transformative.
Yeah.
And, John's story, it illustrates how a growth mindset can really empower us to persevere through those challenges, to learn from our mistakes, and to ultimately achieve greater success.
But it's not just about feeling good. It's about actually getting better results.
Exactly. It could actually translate into tangible improvements in your performance.
This is blowing my mind a little bit. I mean, I'm already thinking about all the areas of my life where I might be holding myself back with this fixed mindset.
It's eye-opening, isn't it?
It is. So Dweck gives us all these strategies for cultivating a growth mindset. But I have to admit, the idea of changing something as fundamental as my mindset, it feels kind of daunting.
It is a journey. It's not like you just flip a switch.
Right.
But her research shows that it is possible to make that shift, and the benefits are immense.
So where do we start?
Well, the first step is to really pay attention to your self-talk.
Okay.
When you hit a roadblock, what are you saying to yourself? Are you hearing those fixed mindset voices?
Oh, yeah, I know those voices.
Right. Things like, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to fail, or this is too hard.
They can be pretty loud.
Yeah, they can. And the key is to challenge those thoughts.
Oh, okay.
To actively replace them with growth mindset statements.
So like what?
Like, this is tough, but I can learn from it, or I'm going to keep trying different approaches until I figure it out.
It's like we're retraining our brains to think differently.
Exactly. You're rewiring those neural pathways.
So are there like techniques for doing this? Because I'm all about like practical application.
There are Dweck talks about creating these action plans for dealing with setbacks. So you kind of anticipate those challenges and you have a plan in place for how you're going to respond.
Interesting.
You could develop a mantra, a little phrase that you repeat to yourself to kind of remind yourself that you can grow and improve.
So it's not just positive thinking. It's like actionable steps.
Right.
It's about taking action. It's about changing your behavior.
I'm fascinated by this. I can't wait to dig into those techniques and see how I can apply them in my own life.
Yeah, me too. It's really exciting stuff. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
We've only just begun to explore the power of mindset.
Okay, I'm hooked. I'm ready to keep diving deeper into Dweck's work and see how we can apply these concepts to unlock even more potential.
Oh, too. Let's do it.
That's good. Okay, so, we've been talking about this idea of mindset and how it can impact success. I think it's really important to see how this plays out in the real world. Dweck doesn't just give us theory. She actually gives us examples of how these mindsets shape our experiences in different areas of life.
I love that about her book. It makes it so much more relatable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with education, for example.
Okay.
The education system is often structured in a way that can kind of foster a fixed mindset.
How so?
Well, think about it. We're constantly evaluating kids based on their abilities.
Right. Grades, test scores.
Exactly. Grades, test scores, and that can create a lot of pressure.
Especially for kids who might already be struggling.
Yeah. I mean, if your worth is tied to those scores, it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, if I don't get a good grade, it means I'm not smart.
Right. You start to avoid challenges. You're afraid to make mistakes.
Exactly. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, because if you believe you're not good at something, you're less likely to put in the effort to improve.
Right. And what's fascinating is that Dweck's research actually shows that students with a growth mindset, they tend to perform better over time.
Really?
Yeah. They're more likely to embrace challenges. They persist through difficulties. And they see mistakes as part of the learning process.
So it's not just about feeling good. It's about actually getting better results.
Exactly.
I love that. So, it seems like one of the key takeaways here is that we need to shift our focus from praising intelligence to praising effort.
Absolutely.
Right.
We often tell kids, oh, you're so smart or you're so talented, thinking that we're boosting their confidence.
Right.
But that can actually backfire.
Why?
Because if a child is constantly told they're smart, they might start to believe that their abilities are innate and fixed, and that effort is only necessary if you're not naturally gifted.
So they're afraid to take risks or try new things.
Right. They don't want to jeopardize that label of being smart.
Yeah, it's like they're trapped in this box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, you're so smart,
Yeah.
we should focus on praising their effort, the strategies they use, the resilience they showed.
So, like, what kind of things could you say?
You could say something like, I'm so impressed by how much effort you put into that project.
Okay.
Or you really persevered through that challenge even when it got tough.
So it's about recognizing and celebrating that journey, not just the end result.
Yeah, it's about focusing on the process, the learning, the growth.
And this applies not just to parents, right? I mean, this is important for teachers, coaches, mentors.
Absolutely. Anyone who's guiding young people.
Really?
It's about creating an environment that values effort and perseverance and learning from mistakes.
It makes me think of John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach.
Oh, yeah.
He was all about effort and teamwork and continuous improvement.
He really embodied the growth mindset.
Right. He didn't just focus on winning at all costs.
No, he believed that true success came from striving to reach your full potential.
And his players really responded to that.
They did. They learned that hard work and dedication were the keys to achieving greatness.
So it's not just about natural talent.
Right? It's about the mindset, the willingness to embrace challenges.
I love that. And, we've been talking about education, but this is relevant in the workplace too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, company culture can either foster a growth mindset or reinforce a fixed one.
I've definitely worked in environments where it felt like everyone was walking on eggshells, afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah, that's a classic sign of a fixed mindset culture.
Right, because if you make a mistake, it means you're not competent.
Exactly. And everyone's so focused on proving their worth and avoiding failure.
It stifles creativity.
It does. It kills innovation because people are afraid to take risks.
So in a company with a growth mindset, what would that look like?
It would be a much more collaborative and supportive environment.
Okay.
Leaders would encourage experimentation. They would understand that not every idea is going to be a hit.
Right.
But that valuable lessons can be learned from each attempt.
So it's about creating a culture where people feel safe to take risks.
Exactly, to learn from their mistakes and to constantly push themselves to grow.
And Dweck gives the example of Microsoft under Satya Nadella.
Yes.
As a real-world example of a company that shifted from a fixed to a growth mindset.
And it led to incredible success.
That's inspiring. So we've talked about education, we've talked about business, but Dweck also talks about mindset in the context of love and relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to hear how this plays out in such a personal and often messy part of life.
Well, imagine someone with a fixed mindset approaches dating.
Okay.
They might believe in destiny.
Yeah.
There's one perfect person out there for them.
The one.
Right, and that everything should be effortless.
And if it's not, they're out.
Yeah, they're quick to give up. They avoid difficult conversations. They're constantly looking for that perfect partner who will meet all their needs.
Right, without any effort on their part.
Exactly.
It sounds exhausting.
It can be, but with a growth mindset, relationships are seen as a journey, a process of growth and evolution.
So conflicts become opportunities.
Yes, opportunities to communicate, to understand each other better, to strengthen the bond.
I'm sensing a theme here. Growth mindset is all about embracing those challenges.
It is. It's about shifting our perspective from, this shouldn't be hard, to this is an opportunity to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
And Dweck really highlights this beautifully in the context of relationships.
Yeah.
She talks about how couples with a growth mindset, they're more likely to see their partnership as a collaboration.
Okay.
A journey of two individuals growing and evolving together.
It takes the pressure off of finding that perfect match.
It does.
And it focuses on the work involved in building a strong and fulfilling relationship.
And that work can be incredibly rewarding.
So it's like you're building something together.
Yes.
Instead of expecting a prefabricated masterpiece.
That's a great analogy. And that's a much more sustainable and ultimately satisfying approach.
But here's the thing. What if you've been operating with a fixed mindset for years? Can you change?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Dweck emphasizes that our mindsets are not set in stone. We can cultivate a growth mindset.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And reap the benefits in every area of our lives.
So how do we actually make that shift?
It's about retraining our brains, becoming aware of those fixed mindset thought patterns, and consciously choosing a different path.
So when you hear that voice in your head saying, I'm not good at this, or I'm going to fail.
You talk back to it. You challenge those thoughts with growth mindset statements.
Okay.
You remind yourself that your abilities are not fixed, that you can learn and grow from every experience.
It's like rewiring our brains.
Yeah, exactly.
Creating new neural pathways.
And it takes practice, just like learning any new skill.
Right.
But Dweck provides specific techniques to help us make this shift.
I'm really intrigued by this. I want to dive into those techniques.
Yeah, we'll definitely explore those in more detail. But
Sure.
first, let's take a closer look at where these mindsets come from, how they're shaped by our upbringing and experiences.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we're back, and we've been talking about how powerful this idea of mindset can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think one of the things that really stuck with me is how much our early experiences can shape our mindsets.
Well, for sure.
You know, especially as a parent, I'm always thinking about the messages I'm sending to my kids.
Yeah, and it's not just parents, it's teachers, it's coaches, anyone who's interacting with young people.
Right, it's like every interaction, every piece of feedback, every time we praise them or critique them, it's all shaping their beliefs about themselves.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that Dweck really emphasizes is that even seemingly harmless phrases, like, oh, you're so talented, or you're a natural at this, can actually contribute to a fixed mindset.
Really? How so?
Well, because if a child is constantly told they're talented, they might start to believe that their abilities are innate and fixed.
Right, and that effort is only necessary if you're not talented.
Exactly. So they might shy away from challenges because they don't want to risk looking like they're not naturally gifted.
Right. It's like they're afraid to put in the effort because then it means they're not really smart.
Yeah, and Dweck actually did a study on this. Where she found that students who were praised for their intelligence were less likely to choose challenging tasks and more likely to give up when they faced difficulty.
Compared to students who were praised for their effort.
So it's really important to be mindful of the messages we're sending.
Absolutely, even with the best of intentions.
Right. So if we shouldn't say, you're so smart, what should we say?
Well, we should focus on the process. Their effort, their strategies, their resilience. Instead of saying, you're so smart, you could say, I'm really impressed by how much effort you put into that project. Or you really persevered through that challenge even when it got tough.
It's about recognizing and celebrating that journey.
Exactly. The struggle, the learning process.
It's just the end result.
Right. It's about the growth.
It makes me think of John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach.
Yeah.
Who Dweck talks about in her book.
He was all about effort and continuous improvement.
Right. He didn't just focus on winning at all costs.
No. He believed that true success came from striving to reach your full potential.
And his players really bought into that.
They did. Yeah. So it's never too late to cultivate a growth mindset, right?
Never too late.
I mean, even if we've been operating with a fixed mindset for years.
It's possible to change.
So how do we do that?
It starts with becoming aware of those fixed mindset thought patterns. And then consciously choosing a different path.
So when you hear that voice in your head saying, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to fail, what do?
You talk back to it. You challenge those thoughts with growth mindset statements.
Like what?
You could say something like, this is tough, but I can learn from it. Or I'm going to keep trying until I figure it out.
It's like we're creating new neural pathways in our brain.
Exactly.
Rewiring ourselves for success.
And Dweck gives us all these great techniques for doing this.
Okay, like what?
Well, one that I find really helpful is creating what she calls action plans. So instead of just getting discouraged when you hit a setback, you actually anticipate those challenges and you create a plan for how you're going to respond.
Okay, so you're being proactive.
Exactly. You're not just reacting to things as they happen.
That makes a lot of sense. So it could be as simple as having a go-to mantra like, I can learn from this.
Yeah. Or reaching out to a supportive friend or mentor.
So it's about turning those moments of potential discouragement into opportunities for growth.
Exactly. And another technique is reframing.
Okay.
So instead of viewing a mistake as a failure, you can reframe it as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this?
So it's like shifting your perspective.
Yes, from this is a disaster to this is valuable data.
I love that. And the more we practice these techniques, the more natural that growth mindset becomes.
It does. It becomes less about forcing ourselves to think differently and more about developing a genuine belief in our ability to learn and grow.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It has.
I mean, I'm walking away with so much to think about.
Yeah, me too.
And I really feel like I have a whole new understanding of how my mindset can shape my reality.
And the best part is we have the power to change it.
We do. And you know what I love about Dweck's work is that it's not just about individual success. It's about creating a more supportive and encouraging environment for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we shift our own thinking, we can influence those around us, our kids, our colleagues, our friends.
And create a ripple effect of growth and possibility.
Imagine a world where everyone embraced challenges and saw effort as the key to success.
It would be amazing.
So I encourage everyone listening to check out Mindset for themselves.
Yes, it's a book that can truly change your life.
It really can. And until next time, keep those growth mindsets flourishing.